starting the draft, the client bugged slightly, so just making sure everything is fair game. Gankstars don't lose out on any time in the draft or anything like that, and going to be kicking it off once again. So all fair play here in the Vainglory 8. We do not want to ruin the chances for a team, especially in a game as important as this one.
Yeah, and this one is massively important. We've already talked a little bit about the implications. They are going to go ahead and ban away the Baron. I really like the fact that they ban away the Baron because it forces Cloud9 to then say, all right, do we ban the Grumpjaw or do we go for after one of those other priority picks? And if the Grumpjaw is left open, we know Gankstars are more than happy to grab it.
Yeah, they're going to ban Baptiste, actually. And Gankstars here can pick Grace, Grumpjaw, or Lyra. One of those three, or even go with Vox and just take it off the board and not give that to Old School. So let's see what Gankstars decides here. But I know that Iraqi is very confident playing against a Vox because if he can get his hands on a Kestrel. So they're going to go ahead and actually pick that Vox and take it away from Old School. Now Cloud9 has Grumpjaw available. Yeah. They have a Dodger. They have Grace available. So they're actually going to pick Grace into Vox, which to me is a little risky given the composition here. So let's see how this is going to pan out.
I have to say, across today specifically, when we looked at Europe, Grumpjaw really wasn't the power pick that we're used to seeing him be. When he did make it through drafts, he wasn't like this crazy influential win every game hero that we've been used to seeing the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is the 2.6 nerf to Grumpjaw. Did take him down just a little bit, not really enough to make him an inviable pick or anything of that nature, but has taken him out of that, almost free win.
Yeah, not that
status.
Tyrant that he used to be, certainly. But it is going to be Adagio and Kestrel banned away, and Koshka locked in for I Love Joseph, which kind of taking that away from Xenotech. We know Xenotech likes his Koshka.
Yeah, for sure. And Koshka, Grace is extremely strong. So here I think Gankstars will probably take Arden or Lyra here and then pair it with potentially Samuel or CP Blackfeather because Baptiste is banned. Or they may even go CP Grumpjaw. Yep, they're probably going to pick the Grumpjaw here and then potentially Lyra will come out here. Or they may go with the Finn to counter, or Lance to counter the Grace. So let's see what they're going to decide on. But I think Lyra, Finn, and Lance are probably going to be the three that they're going to land on here potentially. So let's see what they decide.
You definitely need something that can kind of protect your backline with the composition that they're going to be going up against. 51 seconds still to decide. So they've got time to think this one through, Bacon.
Yeah, they have plenty of time to try and figure out what they want to round this out with. I would expect this to be a jungle Grumpjaw because Xenotech is the one that has been playing it the most. So that would leave this pick to Vanes. Wouldn't be surprised if we do see a Lyra come out as the final pick. It gives them a little bit of sustain, has the heal to try and help against the healing coming out from the Grace, and can do a little bit of work to shut down a Koshka and a Grace, stop their mobility.
Yeah, and I think from the side of Cloud9, they'll probably end up with Glaive, potentially. Weapon Power Lane Glaive, or even a Gwen, but I think it's going to be either Glaive, Idris, or Gwen here. And Lyra's going to come out as expected, so it definitely is going to be... oh, they're actually going with Ringo. Wow. This is the first time I've seen Ringo come out in a long time.
Yeah. I want to say this is the first Ringo we've seen in the Vainglory 8 this season. I'm not 100% convinced.
I think we have seen one, but it was
maybe off stream
early in week one. I think we saw one, but
definitely not a common pick though. That's the key thing here. Ringo, very much a fringe pick, and Iraqi Zoro, he's the guy that likes to go with these fringe picks. He's a guy that really likes to strut his stuff when he gets onto the main stage. So we could be looking at a very a planned out pick here, and maybe a pick that they're looking to go against something specifically.
The reason they're looking for this Ringo is early game, it has a lot of pressure. It has the range, it has the burst damage with the Achilles shot. You pair that with a Grace and a Koshka, they're going to be looking to dominate the lane early on.
All right, so compositions in check then. How are we feeling about this? What are going to be the game plans coming in?
I think with Cloud9 synergy and with Ringo countering Vox, actually, definitely in the early and mid-game phases, and with Koshka and Grace, that's a super strong early and mid-game composition to have. I think Cloud9 is going to take this game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Cloud9 has the advantage with this draft. As long as they can win this early game and continue to keep that pressure up, they can do a lot of great things to stop this Grumpjaw and Vox from being able to take over.
All right, well, we're confident in the Ringo pick here on the analyst desk. It's time to get into our first North American semi-final. Get involved using the hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know who you are supporting today. But it's time to pass it over to our casters and get onto the Halcyon Fold.
Well, holy Nova, Scoundrel. It looks like we're going to have a pretty crazy matchup here. And we might have had maybe some miscalculations as we try to load into that game there.
believe one of the players might have been AFK at the start of that game, and just waiting for him to return. So we'll get into the game as soon as we physically can, but let's have a touch on those compositions, Humanist.
Oh. Well, you know what? We could break it down, but people don't want to hear us memeing. Let's throw it back to the analyst desk just for a second here.
Hello again, everyone. Fancy seeing you here.
It's been a while.
A little bit of a delay getting the game started, so we're just going to chat to you guys a little bit more before we jump on to this one. But Cloud9 versus Gankstars. In case anyone missed it, we've just had our draft. We've just got our compositions locked in, and we're going to be jumping onto the fold as soon as we can. This is definitely going to be an interesting game. The stakes are very high for this one. I was going to pass it over to you guys to talk about it, but apparently the game is ready. So I'm going to pass it over to our casters once again.
Has begun.
Well, we'll have some divine intervention and save you from our analysts and actually get into the game. And it's me, Humanist, here with Big Scoundrel. This is going to be Cloud9 Gankstars, pretty lit matchup. And coming into with these drafts, I think it's going to be really fun as well. We get to see a little Ringo.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen a Ringo. Like you said, starting all over was the guy that often put that on his radar. Love that Gankstars is going to force Gabe Rizzle out just a little bit. They've isolated him on their side of the jungle here. And actually, they're basically allowing Xenotech to invade with a double weapon blade early on against the Koshka. That gives them a lot of duel and trade potential, especially at level 1. And it's going to be literally Lyra versus Gabe Rizzle over on that backside of the jungle for those guys. This is just all over the place. Everybody is all over the place right now between these two.
This game is a meme already. Gabe was able to take the mids from Gankstars, but Vanes grabs the back region there. Now Xenotech's going to find Gabe. He'll use his boots, get himself out of there. What a funny start to this game. I'm really enjoying it so far. Hopefully we continue and maybe see some aggression. I mean, obviously early on, with the Grumshaw, with the Lyra, we expect them to apply pressure, but with the Grace, we're still figuring things out. Gabe Rizzle taking a lot of damage. He's going to jump back in there with that benediction. Xenotech's the one taking a lot of damage. Your Grumshaw can't stand his ground. First blood, Cloud9.
And that was all because I Love Joseph got a lot of experience in the early portion. They're going to get another
second blood, Cloud9.
Over onto Vanes. And now the NA Koshka comes back to haunt them as it comes through. Very, very early pressure as well because she hit level 2 again. Xenotech spent a long time trying to invade by himself at the very start of the game. I believe Joseph must have got the back camps because he did get level 2 before Xenotech, and then Xenotech had yet to get much experience on the map anywhere. And then obviously that resulted in him being level 1 when that duel came to take place. So just a misplay that basically should have been Xenotech probably giving up and starting his back. How would Joseph might get caught out here?
Will Joseph ever be caught out? Yes, he will. Because he goes down. Joseph, man, I thought he had it all calculated there, but he goes down at the end. Now, Gankstars have the numerical advantage, 3-on-2 as they fight for the mids here. Old School drop down, trying to back up Gabe, and they're not going to be able to grab the mid. That actually goes over to Vanes. They secured that. Gankstars, do they take the front, or they just get the Elder Treant and make their own rotation?
But also, right at the start of this game, you saw Old School absolutely just destroy Iraqi Zoro in a trade at level 1, because that is what Ringo has just got the range advantage. The critical strike that he gets guaranteed after killing a minion means you can kill a minion, basic attack the enemy hero, kill a minion, basic attack the enemy hero, and they can't actually trade into that very well, especially when you have the range disadvantage like Vox does. So, you know, Ringo's designed to have that dominance over Vox in the lane, and Old School really put that to practice at level 1 and put some pressure onto Iraqi Zoro. Actually himself knowing this and started the cloth armor, but even with that cloth armor took a real punishment. Has kept up in CS though, Humanist, so that's the main thing. Went back to base, still remains even Stevens with Old School in lane, although actually Old School, now I said that, is now 10 ahead. So
I'm like, yo, bro.
Yeah, that didn't last very long. It was,
at least you're not a doctor. That's okay. We don't have to worry about things like that, right?
They were 18 apiece when I was thinking about the point, and then I actually turned around and then I looked at it now, but actually now he's 10 ahead, so that makes no sense.
Yeah, that's all right. We forgive you. That never happened, guys. But Old School, I mean, he's one of the best Vox players out there. I think he's definitely one of the top Voxes. So, you know, when he sees it, he knows what he struggles with. Of course, Iraqi is definitely historically one of the best Ringos, but as far as things stand right now, I think Old School probably picks this up knowing that, as you said, he does have these advantages over the Vox, and he's going to look to abuse those. Doing a pretty good job so far. We'll see. Iraqi will be behind in farm. That means his first item or two will be delayed as well.
Iraqi also picked up the Poison Shiv. This is like a standard go-to item for Voxes now in a lot of scenarios, but even more so comes through in this case because you have the Grace there. Not only is it going to limit the single target healing of the Fountain, which Grace will get before level 6, but then post level 6 will also limit Grace's ability to land a full strength Divine Intervention heal onto a target that she so chooses. So it is a good item to pick up in this scenario, just like it's good to pick it up against a Lyra as well on the other side of things. Whether we see Old School do that after his Sorrow Blade remains to be seen. He might go a critical strike based build, he might pick up a breaking point, but you know, a Poison Ship wouldn't go far amiss against the Lyra here.
Well, he has the sustain, but it's Old School that has really the massive damage output. And we'll see, they have to respect this. Old School with the range and damage output advantage. At this point, C9 just gonna have to pick and choose what they want to take off the map. And currently is just accumulating resources, continuously taking away the mids, the fronts if they can. You see, I love Joseph though. Level 5 here, he's not really powered leveled. I think he's got your standard kind of average leveling going on. It would be nice if he was basically hitting level 6 right now.
I wonder if he's going towards a Shatterglass on this Koshkin, by the way, because Xenotech is not known for building a lot of defensive itemization on his jungle carries early on. You can see he's got tension bow, he's got a bit of cloth, a bit of light armor there, but he's not known for building huge amounts of early defensive itemization. I wonder if he's just going Shatterglass to just provide the most flat amount of burst possible, so that even if they are focusing Xenotech, they can get the damage down when necessary. Just because he has picked up the Heavy Prism alongside the Eclipse Prism and the Chronograph there, so he could still go towards Aftershock, but there is always the potential for him to go to a Shatterglass here.
I'd like to think he did it just so we had something to talk about here, as both teams will finally converge on each other once again. What is it?
I was laughing because actually I was going to start talking about, in a minute, I was going to start talking about the Lyra pick and how good it is into the likes of Koshka and Grace, and whether they, Gankstars can make this work in the later game to try and protect the Vox from that engage from Lyra and Koshka. But I guess, itemization with Shatterglass is something fun to talk about too.
It is. Definitely is. We'll see. As time goes on, I mean, do you have a preference on that? Obviously, you said it might have some strengths. Is that what you would do?
No, I think I'd still prefer Aftershock. Just simply because I know that Grumpjaw is going to get tankier as the game goes on. I guess he's going to pick it up at some point, so, I mean, maybe if C9 are looking to snowball, then the Shatterglass would allow them to put more pressure onto Iraqi Zoro, who's not going to really think about shielding itemization soon. Both of which are good, but no, he finishes the Aftershock. I much prefer this just because of the fact that Grumpjaw is still Grumpjaw. You still have to worry about him in the front line.
Yeah.
He will still be hard to take down. I prefer the Aftershock.
I definitely do as well. And once again, C9 jumping in. They do find that Holy Nova onto Xenotech, but he's going to turn around stuffed up as they move forward and try to find a target, but it's not actually working out. Yummy Catnip Frenzy's going to go ahead and lock him down for a second. Old School kiting back, turns, finds the damage. Hellfire Brew is going to come out, target it onto Iraqi. Should be melting him down. But there you go, a little Lyra heal. Keeps Gankstars in fighting shape, and nobody actually goes down off the back of that.
Oh, okay. That particular team fight, Gankstars had two distinct options available to them. You take out a member and then continue the fight 2 versus 3, or you take out a member, you retreat with that member to your Crystal Sentry and basically secure a kill onto that one particular person.
Joseph taking a lot of damage. He's down. Xenotech sniffed him out. He was just sitting in that top brush. He just got melted.
Well, good presence by Xenotech there. Makes up for that decision that they could have either made to go towards their Crystal Sentry, or they could have gone, like they said, forcing that 2 versus 3. But again, the retreat from Gabe Bizaway managed to allow Old School the time to back out of that scenario. But Xenotech makes up for it, picks up the kill himself. And you might be wondering why you've got 2 weapon power carries here on the side of Gankstars. It's not going to be a full weapon power carry on Grumpjaw. It will be an on-hit Grumpjaw. Basically, what you often tend to see here, in place of Storm Crown on Grumpjaw, you'll end up going Tension Bow Aftershock, which gives you a little bit extra on-hit damage and sacrificing the cooldown reduction that the Storm Crown bring to the table. So it gives you a bit more burst damage, maybe a little bit less consistent, but a little bit more burst damage for Xenotech. And you can also see Iraqi Zoro picks up a Tension Bow as well, Humanist, which is something that you might find, and a lot of people might find quite odd, but Tension Bow is just a really good item.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think it's odd. I think it makes sense. What do you think? Breaking Point next? What's he do?
I like Breaking Point. Breaking Point will allow him to have longevity in team fights. Sorrow Blade will allow him to consolidate on his burst and also link up with Xenotech's burst, but it's a build that will fall off Vox as the game progresses. So I much prefer the Breaking Point, but obviously he has the option to go for something like a Tyrant's Monocle. He can go for a Sorrow Blade. Depends on what they want to achieve. Looks like it could be either. I'm very much likely thinking it's going to be Breaking Point because you do want to have some longevity in team fights. We've got a little team fight breaking out here. Looks like Gabe Bizzle will have to use the boots to back out.
Yeah, whiffs that Holy Nova. It's going to be the Arcane Passage forward. Vaing's not really finding the connection he was looking for. And C9, Gankstars both kind of swing and a miss on that one.
I like the tension bar on Vox as well because not only does it basically synergize with if both Xenotech and Vox is focusing the same target, especially with double squishy. You've got to remember that this is Ringo and Koshka. This is a fairly squishy composition. You're going to want to try and burst before Grace can get the heal off, or burst, before she can get some damage reduction down. So that is something that you do have to consider here. Also, Ringo picks up the Poison Shiv. There we go, Humanist. He is considering that in his build path because he's just so good against Lyra.
Yeah, definitely a good pickup for him. Yeah, we see items coming together for everybody. Atlas Pauldrons on both captains. We'll see if they can go ahead and apply those onto the opposing carries. But right now it's Old School taking the turret down. Arakizora will finally jump onto him. Mortal Wound applied as they chase forward here. Can they find the damage? Old School still alive. The Fountain gets him. Xenotech's going to be stuffed up at the end of it. Joseph showed up. Araki's down. Old School will go down at the end of it. They traded 1 for 1. Now looking for more. Who's it going to be? Yummy Cat and Frenzy out onto Xenotech, but he's so tanky. Stands his ground. He's out of there. Grumpy, get your butt out of there. Gets a heal. Can he get boosted? He's so boosted by Vaing's, not boosting enough. He goes down. I know Vaing's is here. Gabe, Joseph, they don't quite want to chase. Joseph low on energy there. A nice fight for C9.
Yeah, no shielding as well on Xenotech, or very little shielding. You get a little bit from the armor, the coat of face there, but you don't get a lot of shield from it, and that just means that either Joseph's still able to rip through Xenotech if he doesn't have that living armor fully stacked, and also C9 getting a global out of it in the form of a tier 1 turret. So all in all, a good trade for them, capitalizing on some sort of poor rotations from Gankstars, and knowing that Gankstars were down there clearing scout traps around the jungle, they knew they had the opportunity with Ringo having sort of the Sorrow Blade and the Poison Shiv now, so the attacks there as well, able to just run and take that tier 1 very, very quickly. I Love Joseph also picked up the Broken Myth now too.
Oh, that's a huge pickup for him. I was going to say, isn't that just like the worst feeling when you're in the jungle and you look up and you realize you're going to be too late to defend that turret?
Oh, absolutely. But there's something you have to be aware of as a professional team. You've got to be aware that if you leave someone out of lane and the enemy has stacked the wave in their favor, they're just going to shove that and take that so quickly. And with Ringo having Twirling Silver to give him a self-attack speed steroid, I mean, turrets go down in a matter of seconds. You do always have to respect what Ringo can bring to the table in terms of single target damage and also structure taking capability. But you rightly said, big item for I Love Joseph now, because Xenotech doesn't have a huge amount of armor, a huge amount of shielding. Arakizora doesn't have a huge amount of shielding, and also Xenotech is a very easy stack target for Broken Myth stacks for I Love Joseph. So, yeah, it's a massive item for him. He's going to be chunking out huge amounts of damage, but he also is quite squishy in his own right, Humanist.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that's also kind of why we've seen in these fights, he's not always the one to start the fight, or the fight's even going on for a few seconds before he jumps in. Gabe's done a pretty good job to just be that front line for his team. So Joseph's been in and out of there. But we have 2 infusions. I mean, Joseph's infusion running out. Araki is running out right now as well. But Old School, that's going to be active for a little bit longer.
I actually think Grace is really good against burst-orientated builds like the Tension Bow Aftershock build, just simply because even when you start channeling the Divine Intervention, you get a 40% damage reduction in your target. So it makes it very likely that you can survive that burst damage and then bring a giant heal to the table, which is why I really like... Oh, big fight.
Oh, he's big in there with the Hellfire Brew. They just turn and start chunking Araki down. Araki melted off the top of that, and Old School just stands his ground. He's actually not scared. Tries to take the Arcane Passage, gets trolled. Xenotech goes down anyway to Joseph and Gabe. And it's going to be Vaing's trying to get himself out of here. Does get the Sigil. Joseph's got to drop that Crystal Sentry aggro. He does. He jumps right back in, using that move speed to his advantage. Massive fight for C9. They take the ace. Crystal Sentry is not even on the menu. They go straight for the turret.
I think Arakizora is severely overestimating the amount of burst damage he has in his kit. He ran straight at Ringo to go to the backline, to Old School to go to the backline. Old School turned around and blew him up. Old School was like, what are you doing, Iraqi? Just sat there, twirling silver activated, and Ringo, especially when you compare these two builds side by side, and Ringo is always going to out-damage a Vox, even at the beginning of a team fight, just because of the flat damage that Ringo can put out with twirling silver. Iraqi Zoro got deleted there, and to add to the fact that Gabe Bizzle, as soon as he saw Iraqi Zoro move, started channeling the ultimate at the beginning of the fight, which meant that Old School had a 40% damage reduction in that 1v1 duel with Iraqi.
Yeah.
That's what Good Graces will do as well, Humanist. Good Graces won't wait until the carry has already started taking damage. Good Graces will anticipate damage onto a carry, use the heal before that damage comes in, so that when the damage does come in, you both reduce the damage and then heal the remainder up regardless.
Absolutely, it's so good. I mean, I could see where maybe he got baited in because the Hellfire Brew was being channeled up, but ultimately they were just a little late to commit on that. C9 moving forward. It appears they want to go for this Crystal Sentry. Gangstar's not really in a good position to do anything about this, and that's going to go down. 2 lives remaining here, but Gangstar's not even thinking about contesting.
Don't think they can at this point, unfortunately. You also have to be aware of the fact that if you want to make that kind of move to the backline, Humanist, I believe you should engage with Xenotech first, get the stuffed, and then try and make a move as a joint, almost pincer attack force onto one of the members that you want to blow up, like Old School. You can't do it in the process of getting stuffed landed. You've got to do it as a unit. That's a Crucible used early on here by Gabe Bizzle, but again, Gangstar's not in a position to contest it. They are just too far behind at this point.
Yeah, they're playing very carefully. I can't blame them. They're definitely on the back foot right now. But the question is, like, at what point do you make your stance? At what point do you try and actually make a fight happen? C9, they're in a great position right now. They have vision around the middle area of the map. They're just rotating as a unit right now, making sure they get all that ambient gold down. And I just don't know. For Gankstars, like you said, it's so tough for them to engage, but they're definitely not going to catch C9 by surprise.
No, and I think Xenotech's build path, as you can see, this is an early game-focused build path. This Tension Bow Aftershock, it's supposed to snowball from the early game. It does not function as a high damage output sort of build path when you get towards the later stages, especially against the Grace Humanist, especially as the levels pile on, the base stats go up, and Grace gets more and more powerful. This is going to only fall off, and actually, look at this. Gankstars, due to lack of vision and inability to face check that neutral area in the middle of the map, did a free uncontested Kraken straight over to C9. Crazy how far ahead C9 can make you feel.
It really is crazy. I feel like Gankstars need to turn it up here. The problem is, though, when you have a composition like this where, okay, with Vox, this is outranged by Ringo, right? So when you jump on him, you have to like commit, and that's why they went with the burst damage build, also in the Grumpjaw. But against the Grace, it's really hard, like, because she can just stand her ground, throw the Holy Nova, and like, what are you gonna do? You also have to deal with Yummy Catnip Frenzy coming in. Nice Bright Bulwark here. Hellfire Brew is going to connect. Xenotech's locked down, taking a lot of damage. Can he survive through this? He's down he's dead before the fight even really begins. And now you got to be careful. Get back, Iraqi Zoro taking damage. He's trying to sustain through it. Iraqi's down as well. This is just a disaster for Gangstar's veins. You'll have some time to think about what you've done wrong. But this looks like C9 should pretty much just close this game out.
This is game over right here, right now, Humanist. C9, 17 minutes against very tough opponents, Gankstars. They just rolled through, and this all stemmed from the fact that they took a set of builds that were designed to snowball in the early game, designed to sort of capitalize on the fact that they had fantastic burst damage. Against the Grace, I don't know if that's the right way to play it. Like, you're going to get to a point where Grace gets at least 2 points in the ultimate, and then suddenly your burst becomes pointless, and 3 points in the ultimate makes it even worse. So I would have much preferred to see Iraqi Zoro go a standard stacking breaking point Vox build, kite with the Lyra,